What's up? Today we have a very janky and nostalgic deck profile for you. Want to make a deck based around some of my favourite old school cards for GOAT format, and this is what I came up with. Actually turned out pretty okay, not too bad. It can steal some games, so yeah, I thought I'd make a deck profile just in case anyone was interested. So starting off, we've got best card in the deck by far is UFO Turtle. This gets us into our janky and nostalgic combos. It's 1400 attack, 1200 defense, and when it's destroyed as a result of battle, you can special summon a fire with 1500 or less attack. So speaking of which, we've got these two bad boys. Great memories of this card. This is a 1500 attack fire pyro monster, solar flare dragon. When you control another pyro type monster, this card can't be selected as an attack target. So if you've got two, you can just stall out and it burns during each of your end phases, I believe. During the end phase of your turn, yeah. So if you've got two of these out, your opponent's taking 1000 each turn. It puts them on an 8-turn clock unless they've gained life, and then neither of these can be attacked. Pretty cool. You've also got Command Knight. This is another UFO Turtle target. What this does is if you control another monster, this card can't be declared as an attack target. So if you've got two of these out, pretty similar to Solar Flare Dragon, your opponent cannot attack either of them. Also, it boosts the attack of all warrior monsters by 400 points when it's on the field. So if you get two, they become 2k beaters with 1900 defense, so it's a pain for like Tsukiyomi or warriors in general, unless they've got like Blade Knight with one or less cards in hand. Just a good way to beat over stuff. If you've got like one of these in hand, they swing over your UFO Turtle with a big guy and 2k can get over it. You can go into another one and potentially stall out until you can draw your degenerate combos. Speaking of which, we've got Raging Flame Sprite. We will run a lot of cards in here that stops your opponents from attacking. What this guy does is you can attack your opponent's life points directly. He's only got 100 attack, but each time he inflicts damage to your opponent, his attack goes up by 1000. So after 2 attacks, he's a 21 beater, which is really, really nice. And I just love this card. I think the artwork's amazing. And again, some great memories of this bad boy. Obviously, you can search him with UFO Turtle. The backup plan of this deck is just to beat your opponent down with like 2k beaters, which this guy is on your turn. Once he goes over to your opponent, once it goes over to your opponent's turn, it becomes a 1700 beater, which is still really good for GOAT format. You can special summon him by banishing any fire from your graveyard, so really, really easy to bring out. You've got a lot of these guys as fodder, and you can also use the Spirit of Flames that go to the graveyard as fodder for Spirit of Flame, which is why I decided to max out on this guy. Yeah, just a very basic big beater. Next up, I wanted to run this card just for like nostalgic reasons. I always really like the element archetype, I guess you would call it. They get different effects based on the types of monsters that you control. So in this case, you're probably going to have a fire monster and she just becomes a big 2k beater, which can be searched out by Shining Angel. Yeah, I just wanted an excuse to run this card, and we run like creature swap, so the Shining Angels get sort of value from that. And yeah, next up we've got DD Warrior Lady, just as an additional Shining Angel target. Obviously a really, really good card in general. Big beefy stats, 1500 and 1600. When it battles, you can banish a monster, so you can use this defensively. You set it, you know they're going to attack it with a big guy, you can banish it, or you can proactively crash it into something that you want to banish. And last monster we have Sangan. This works with your creature swaps, and it searches like a whole bunch of shit. You've got DD Warrior Lady, Shining Angel, Element Valkyrie, and all these little guys. Yeah, pretty much the whole deck apart from Spirit of Flame, so must run. Next up we have another spicy card. We've got Last Will. The reason we run this is because this plus any of your floaters equals your combo. So if you've got, well, not the Shining Angel I suppose, but if you draw this with UFO Turtle, you can activate Last Will, summon the turtle, crash, UFO Turtle will bring out a Solar Flare Dragon, and then the Last Will bring out the other Solar Flare. Equally, you can go for Command Knight if you really need to beat over something that's less than 2k and causing issues. So yeah, Last Will, really good. Next up we have the degenerate cards. You've got Level Limit Area B, limited to 2, with good reason. Any level 4 or higher monster face up on the field becomes defense mode. So yeah, just a nice way to stall with your Solar Flare Dragon. If you've only got the one, it's a nice way to protect it. The thing that kind of sucks about this deck is that any like one piece of removal can be a massive hindrance. So if you've got like Solar Flare Dragon and this, if they MST this, you're kind of fucked, because then they can just attack over your Solar Flare Dragon and you've lost like everything in their up advantage. But we do play some cards in the main deck to sort of prevent that, which we'll get to soon. Next up we have more degeneracy. We've got Messenger of Peace, basically the same thing as Level Limit Area B. Monsters with 1500 or more attack cannot declare an attack, which is the perfect number because your Solar Flare Dragon is 1500. You lose 100 life points at your standby phase, which isn't bad at all considering Solar Flare, if you've got 2 of them, is going to be burning your opponent for 1000. We don't mind losing 100 life points. There is quite a lot of life point loss, like self-loss in this deck, as you can see from this card. But I don't know, I feel like these are definitely needed, specifically for Tribe Infecting Virus. It can really hurt you. Another thing that this can be used for though is because you run 6 recruiters, which generally speaking you're going to set because you don't want your opponent to know it's a recruiter, because then they know not to attack it. And this is good against Nobleman of Crossout. You pay 1500 life points, you negate any effect that would destroy a monster and negate it and destroy it. So yeah, really good against knock, really good against Tribe Infecting Virus, which is a huge problem. And just like anything like Sakuretsu maybe, Mirror Force, Torrential Tribute, any of that shit. Next up, we've already talked about it quite a bit, we've got Creature Swap. We're not playing any big boss monsters in this deck, so this card is vital in sort of taking your opponent's BLSs or your Chaos Source, or their Chaos Sorcerers, sorry. So yeah, must run. Next up we have some more generic-y kind of stuff. We've got Premature Burial. This is really good in case your opponent breaks your lock, like your 2 Solar Flare Dragons, and you need to get one of them back. So yeah, very good. You've got MST, not running Heavy Storm in this deck unfortunately. Obviously all your continuous spells, you don't want to build them up yourself, so that's the only form of spell and trap removal we play. But we do play like the My Body as a Shields to prevent your opponent's traps and shit like that. You've got Delinquent Duo. The reason I decided to run this was because excuse me, is because I wanted to get rid of my opponent's answers to my board state out of the hand proactively, so this is a really good way of doing that. And then we've got the really boring spells. We've got Graceful Charity, really good with like Premature Burial if you want to set up your Solar Flare Dragons, and Command Knights if you've got like Cold Hunt as well. Battle Greed, obviously. I've got more degeneracy. We've got 2 Gravity Bind. All face up monsters that are level 4 or higher cannot attack. So this is limited to 2 as well, with good reason. Big blowout card. One of the things about this deck is that Royal Decree obviously can hurt it, but there's not much you can really do about that, to be fair. You do run like obviously Messenger of Peace and Level Limit Area B. But if your opponent's siding game 2 into like loads of Dust Tornadoes and Royal Decree, obviously it can kind of shut down this deck. So what I'd like to do is to get rid of, like, in my side deck I'll have like just like Darks and Chaos Monsters, and then you can just kind of side into like a normal sort of recruiter based Chaos deck, in which case all of their Decrees and Dust Tornadoes are going to be not useless, but nowhere near as good as they should be, thinking that they're going against like a Pac-Man like deck. So that's something you can think about. Obviously if you've lost game 1 and then you blind, if you smokescreen game 2, then obviously game 3 they don't really know what to side, so you could maybe swap back into this if you think they're going to side out, or there's obviously a lot of mind games you can play with that. So yeah, next up we've got Call of the Haunted. As I say, if you've got your combo disrupted, you want to wait to get it back, so bring back Solar Flare Dragon basically if you've got one in hand. And then last card, probably the most important card in the deck, is Solemn Judgment. Like I say, it's just imperative that we keep our combo pieces on board, and we want to be able to disrupt anything that our opponent does to fuck with that. So triple Solemn Judgment, very necessary. Like I say, it's a lot of self-drain, so you've got triple Solemn Judgment, and you've got Delinquent Joe, and you've got the My Body as a Shield. But I think this is the best way to sort of play this kind of deck, because you want to have answers to everything. So yeah, that's the deck. I fucking love this deck, to be honest, even though it is pretty, I don't know, I'd say it's very janky, but also can win. So yeah, let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, all that shit. Bye bye.